So I was talking to you guys earlier about the book of Boba Fett, and they just came out with episode 5. But let's not go to episode 5 yet. Let's go. We only talked about episode 1. Let's talk about 2 through 5. And I want to know. Save your comments, by the way, for episode 5 or like the end. We'll kind of shift through it. But so far, what do you think of the show?
I think it's been all right. I mean, I've enjoyed it, but it hasn't really blown me away in this like in subsequent episodes. I mean, there's been stuff to like about it, but I don't know. I guess it just kind of feels a bit more slower pace than I was expecting, especially what with the building up of Fett's criminal empire and all.
And I can agree with the slow build, but so far I've been enjoying it and just kind of seeing, getting that little backstory of Boba Fett and how he survived in the desert up until the point he took over, Jabba or what's the
Bib Fortuna.
Thank you, Bib Fortuna's organization, and so I'm getting like a dances with wolves vibe, with Boba Fett living amongst the Tusken Raider tribe, and just kind of seeing how he, I don't know, like grow, not necessarily grow as a person, but just kind of like expand his fighting ability and his lethal ability. Not necessarily for bounty hunting purposes, but in order to survive and contribute to this clan that saved his life.
Mm-hmm. So I kind of and I had a discussion with Jason about this before, and I said this is kind of a change of direction for this character in a lot of ways, especially considering the material that's been written about Boba Fett to this point, right? So if we think about it and from that perspective, it's like, okay, well, um, you know. His life starts from escaping the Sarlacc pit, essentially. So, but yeah, it's kind of a change of character, but it's not instant, right? Like, he gets essentially adopted by the Tuscans. And by the way, I love that part because I think that it kind of, and we may have said this before, but it's really like world building with the Tuscans. They go on to explain when he's finally gets to train with them and commune with them, and he's like, hey, we've there are many different tribes of Tuscans out here, and which kind of, by the way, explains maybe what some people would call inconsistencies with what they see in the Tuscans in these episodes versus maybe what you saw in A New Hope, right?
Yeah, I mean they're just kind of like the weird, scary people dressed in rags, and that's like he gets into their culture, and also like with regard to episode 2, it's always interesting to see him, Fett, like expand, it's like like learn something or grow a bit beyond this, like the mystery, like the man of mystery bounty hunter that we've known him to be up to this point, but also to be, it's like there's like it all builds to like a pretty solid action sequence, like as the show goes on, because we learn that they're apparently that these raiders have been at the mercy of the Pikes, who've been running spice through the desert, through this long transport, which is basically, hey, it's basically like they're gonna Fett's gonna take the natives to stop the train that's been gunning him down. So, and that is a pretty solidly constructed action sequence. Probably the best one the series has shown us up to this point.
Oh yeah, I agree. I love that. It was like where he gets the what are those? They're not the Pikes, but they're the gang. What are they called?
Oh, Crimson Dawn. Is that it?
Crimson Dawn. Is that it?
Or maybe
don't remember.
I was thinking of something else. Was it
I
Black
think-
Sun?
Something like that. But regardless, here's we get to see it's like them. He goes and he's like, hey, I know how we're gonna get this, and he winds up because after the train passes by the village, and this is all in episode 2, right? So when the train passes by where they're at, all the Pikes taking shots at them, killing banthas and Tuskens alive, right? So, but then you get this whole thing like, okay, Boba now, because they've kind of accepted him, and now he's like, you know what? I'm not going to take care of this problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be back. He goes to the bar. No, is it a bar or is it a station? I forget what it is.
It looked to be a bar, like a just kind of like a outpost bar, where we see a human couple,
Yeah,
look like they're having a date night, and this biker gang acting rowdy within this bar.
Yep. So that couple, and this I can't take credit for, but I did discover this. This couple and this bar, those are not arbitrary things. This was actually a deleted. They took this scene and that couple specifically from a deleted scene from A New Hope.
This is Tashi Station, isn't it?
Correct. That's right. And those two are actually in that cut as well. So, and it's not like the same actors, but I mean, that's who they're supposed to be,
Mm-hmm.
But then, Boba goes in there. I have to really like that, by the way. He goes in there, cleans house, and then drinks the rest of the drink on the bar, slams it on the bar, and I'm like, yeah. Way to go. That was satisfying, I'll have to admit. So, but yeah, and then he comes back with the bike. So that kind of ties in with the Mandalorian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Cobb Vanth and him went, Cobb Vanth. Wait. Was it Cobb Vanth? Yeah. Wait. Did he have the ones? Did he have the bikes? No. I know Cobb Vanth had his own bikes. Or did he take them from the gang there? I'm getting confused.
Are you
watched that episode.
Are you talking about Timothy Oliphant's character?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I think he had like I don't know. His bike was a little modified. It seemed to have extra parts to it, like parts from like a whatchamacallit, like a pod racer, like thruster.
Like modified, yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, so I think these bikes that Boba stole seem to be like the standard speeder bikes you would see within Star Wars, and I'm not sure if all of them were destroyed, but a lot of them were destroyed during that train raid, and I think that was like another interesting story mechanic within Boba Fett staying with the Tusken Raiders, is that, not like you said, not only did they accept him into their tribe, but he kind of started showing them the ways of technology and their ways, because they would call the train like what the long speeder or the fast speeder or whatever, that they couldn't take it down. And Boba Fett brings back a bundle of speeders and starts teaching them how to not only how to ride, but kind of like defend and fight off of speeders, when they're so used to just riding banthas. So it was kind of cool to see them learn the ways of technology and fend for themselves using weapons that the enemy would use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, we can, I will teach you to ride these. And it's like, okay, all right, before they start like wrecking them and like tearing them to pieces.
Yeah.
Which is fine, which is pretty cool. Again, adding to the whole thing that we started to see in The Mandalorian when Mando goes up, or Din, what do you want to say, to the Tuskens, when I think he is with Cobb Vanth at that point. and and he's like speaking their language and all this other stuff. So it's kind of it kind of ties into this whole thing. Like it's putting more character onto a a kind of a faceless villain in a lot of ways. Like it's just like, okay, we kind of thought of them as villains. They're not really villains. They're just surviving.
Right.
Yeah. So and then there is something else that we learn is that, and I don't know if this is new. And then Jason, you're just gonna have to come in on this one because I don't know if this was other material before. But Tatooine was covered with water. This is what we learned from the from the Tuscans.
Yeah, it's like it's a desert planet. It's like it stands to reason that once long ago it was covered with water, but as far as any like expanded universe material that dealt with it, I'm not aware of it.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
Like, I think some people were saying that hey, this makes it more like this makes Star Wars' connections with the influence of Dune on Star Wars even stronger and all.
Yeah. Okay, and that's fine. That's cool. I'm good with that too. I mean, and I get that. And the whole Dune inspiration. Especially with the whole like, hey, what do you got there? Spice. Okay. That was kind of an interesting scene too when they wind up attacking the train. The droid's kind of a little bit funny. He runs off after a while. Fighting.
Droid doesn't want to die.
Yeah, Droid's like, I'm out of here. I'm out of here. So, self-preservation. But yeah, an interesting episode. We see that this is what it's the episode 2 is where he snorts they gave him the gift of the thing, and this is how he makes his what do they call it? His stick, Boba stick.
It's gaffy stick.
Gaffy stick. Thank you, gaffy stick. So, I'm curious as to like, is this how all gaffy sticks are made? So it kind of leads me to that conclusion. But
snorting lizards and having visions.
Yeah, basically.
Right? I see no reason to doubt this logic.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, pretty interesting. What else was key in this episode?
We got to meet the mayor of Mos Eisley.
Yeah. Which I as I understand it, was voiced by Rodriguez, right? I mean, the director, one of the directors, right? Yeah, that's how I understand it. But I do like seeing, and I forget the name of the race. I like that they have a translation box, and then you can hear it in English. That's kind of cool. But I've never really seen one of the. I don't remember what the name of that alien race is, but I thought it was cool to see them talk. So I think the last time I saw one of them talking was in the original. What do they call it? Clone Wars cartoon by Genndy Tartakovsky, and it was a Jedi. He was a Jedi, if you remember. But we never heard what he was actually saying. We just heard he was talking. That was it.
Yeah, it's like I'll probably remember the name after we're done with this, but it's like it was interesting to see him like try and say, "Hey, no, it wasn't me." It's like there's other people who would want you dead. And when he walks out, whoa, what do we see? A couple of huts and a very, very angry Wookiee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who is this Wookiee?
This Wookiee is Black Chrysanthemum. Basically, he's basically like Chewie. Only it's like if Chewie was like just had like a bunch of rage issues to deal with. Basically, he's the one who basically when the slavers came to Kashyyyk looking for some easy prey, he basically beat them up and said, "Hey, I want to join you because I am looking to get off this dirt and knock some heads." So he became like a big fighter in the gladiator pits, and once there was no one left to fight, he became a bounty hunter. And he's also best known for teaming up with Dr. Aphra, Star Wars' very amoral answer to Indiana Jones. Yeah, so there's a lot of speculation that if he's here, then she can't be far behind since they tend. Well, he's always hunting her down because she always owes him money.
Yeah, kind of interesting. This Chrysanthemum character,
I mean, more of him.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll see more of him because he's just a cameo in episode 2. But well, let's just say he lives up to one of the big stereotypes about Wookiees. It's like in episode 4,
That
Yeah.
they'll rip your arms off.
pretty much.
So yeah, interesting also to see. I think they call them twins. That's hey, um, I'm not sure. I don't know if well, well, let's just say that it's interesting to see them try to come by here and then take the claim. But then we wind up finding out in the next episode a little bit more.
Yeah, because they're Jabba's cousins, and they come back to reclaim their cousin's property. But then my question is like why didn't you come and did they even try to come and reclaim it when Bib Fortuna was in power? Because he might have been an easier target than Boba Fett.
Yeah, so there's some interesting politics maybe going on here that we didn't quite pick up on. So, like, okay, and whoever saw, like, if you just remember Bib Fortuna from Return of the Jedi, like, susceptible to the mind trick, to me, when we saw him on Jabba's throne, if you will, in his palace, I'm thinking, and he's what, maybe 200 pounds heavier or whatever. The first thing in my head is like, yeah, this guy is definitely a puppet. Like he's just there, and it was just kind of like my assumption, and I think that'll be more fleshed out, as the story goes on. But it's like, okay, I never saw Bib Fortuna as like a real like strong, like leader character, but someone who always just took orders from someone else, right?
Right.
That's just my opinion, and I don't know if there's any other material written about it, but as far as I know, I'm like, yeah, he's just a lackey, a figurehead, as it were.
That's pretty much. But hey, it's like he was there at the right time. Like, I mean, he clearly survived the barge blowing up, so I guess he was like in the right place to inherit Jabba's empire. It's like, and he apparently he made it work, just not as well from what we understand. But it's like, so like it was just waiting until like it was just like prime easy pickings for someone as capable as Fett to just roll in and just like roll in and take him out. But
yeah,
hey, it's like that's the last we heard. That's the last we heard of him. So it's like, yeah, like no great loss there.
Exactly, right. So in episode 3, we do get more of and so this essentially the storytelling method is that Boba goes in his back to tank in these episodes, and we get flashbacks from we get to see part of the story of him with the Tuskens and how he got to up probably very close to the events where we see him in the Mandalorian, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, in episode 3, let's see here. The pieces we get is that he is, by the way, this kind of, I think it explains more that once he's accepted in the tribe, he got his gaffy stick, but he also wears the black robes. And I don't think this changes. So he wears his Beskar armor, and it's black. It's still the black robes essentially underneath. Is that correct? Is that how you guys see that?
Yes. Yeah, still wearing that gear.
Yeah, still wearing that gear. So, so yeah, interesting story points, I guess. Just to color the whole thing, I suppose.
Yeah, but episode 3 is a bit interesting because like we spend more time like in the present day than we do in the past compared to previous episodes. It's just like a little flashback about Fett meeting with the Pike representative to tell him about what's going on with like, yeah, now you're paying my tribe for protection, like going through the wasteland. And then the Pike representative goes, oh, I'm already paying paying for protection. I'm not going to pay it twice. So Fett's kind of like, fine. It's like, I'll go sort this out myself. only to find out that someone's already gone and taken out his tribe. And it looks like it's the that speeder bike gang from the previous episode.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah.
And, and that was a sad moment to see that the tribe he had grown so close with and developed a bond with all taken out, and you can just see the vengeful rage kind of welling in his face. Like
He was in tears, I believe. I mean, like as he was burning the bodies, and just
Yeah.
like, and he even picked up the little kid's stick.
Yeah.
Like, that was heartbreaking.
And it was at that point that I knew, like, yeah, that gang was gonna get it, dude. So
yeah, exactly. So
and in the end they sure did. When we'll get to that point, but I think to touch on what Jason said, yeah, this episode kind of stayed more within real time, and I liked how he started setting up a little. He started setting up his little gang. You know what I'm saying? Like he recruited those street bikers, and even though to me at first they kind of felt out of place in Star Wars in the sense of like, they felt more like a cyberpunk 2077 aesthetic. I like how Boba Fett got himself some street goons, because every good mob boss needs some street goons.
yep, you come work for me then.
Mm-hmm.
And then he negotiates the price of the water. He's like, yeah, you charge too much. So
yeah,
like he's already he's already made the claim he is the daimyo of Titan. So therefore, he's now starting to take his authority, on that.
Right.
Yeah, and right. So
yeah, there is
Right.
one little issue I have with this. It was pointed out like in stuff I've read elsewhere, in the sense that realize that like up until this point, it's basically just been him and Finnick
Mm-hmm.
running things. I mean, it's a criminal empire of two. Up until this point, you kind of figure that maybe that maybe it's like it would have been smarter to like to start recruiting like your own gang, it's like or like your own like thugs before you like start set up shop here. I mean, like when with the water seller tells him, who's played by Stephen Root, it's always great to see him, and it's like he says like nobody respects you. Because I guess to their point, I mean, they just see like he's just some guy just in armor who just showed up to walk around town and say he's the new daimyo, and everyone probably looks like, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And to your point, I agree, because it's like, if you're gonna establish yourself, as a major player in this, gangster underworld, and be a threat, you gotta have that. You got to have that crew. And of course, he started off with his two loyal pigmen, and then now he's got a street gang. And once he recruited them, excuse me, that's when I got the vibe like, okay, moving forward, he's gonna start like getting some real muscle on his team. And like even though this may not go in this direction, like the fact that he let what's the Wookiee's name? Kristen?
Black Chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum. Like the Hutts offered Chrysanthemum to him as tribute, and then he just let him go. And I kind of got that vibe, like, okay, is there going to be this like mutual respect between bounty hunters? Will Chrysanthemum owe him a debt and maybe join his crew down the line later in the series? That's where I started feeling like, okay, from this point on, this is where he's going to start getting some muscle, and we're going to start seeing, maybe some other, familiar bounty hunter faces or other characters like end up joining his crew. And, that's still to be determined as, we'll continue on with this conversation. But, I'm starting to get that vibe now to what Jason said, like nobody respects you because, it's just a party of two trying to rule everything. Now we're starting to see the setup in which like, okay, I need to start getting more people on board.
Well, interesting thing is that they did send Chrysanthemum to kill him, pulled him straight out of the back of the tank, and
Right.
you know, and his little gang members, you know, kind of help out, you know, and I thought I heard some cracking of bones there. So
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but you know, Chrysanthemum appears to be a pretty strong SOB. Plus, he had the what was the thing that his hands had something.
Oh, those knuckle dusters. It's
Yeah,
like
the
electrified.
knuckle
Yeah.
Yeah, that
And-
looked.
Oh, go ahead.
So no, I was just saying, like, you know, after that whole thing, they capture him, throw him in the, you know, in the Rancor pit.
Mhm.
But then you get the twins coming up and it's like, yeah, we sent him to kill you.
And as I was watching that episode, and they're going through that fight, and they toss Chrysanthemum into the Rancor pit. I'm like, see, this is why no one's scared of you, dude. You don't have a Rancor. Like, you know, there's just emptiness down there. But lo and behold, you know, later on that episode, the twins, you know, present him with a gift of like what is like supposed to be like a baby Rancor.
Yep.
And
presented by with the trainer who's
Danny Trejo.
Yeah, that's right. Danny Trejo.
Robert Rodriguez's boy, and I was like, "Oh snap, dude, Danny Trejo." So I thought that was cool. Like, okay, Boba Fett has a street gang now. He has a Rancor, and the muscle and the fear is starting to build within his syndicate. He just like he said needs that, you know, that more muscle. And I found it interesting to kind of learn more about like the Rancors too, like, you know, how Danny Trejo explained, like, oh yeah, they're really gentle creatures, and you know, like if they, you know, see you for the first time, they bond with you. And Boba Fett was just so, you know, enamored by this creature. He's like, yeah, I want to learn to ride it.
I want to ride him.
Yeah,
It's like, what? That is amazing. I thought that was pretty damn cool. Just honestly, it was like, yeah.
And it made me think, if that Rancor HasLab Kickstart came out like around this episode, maybe some numbers would have jumped.
Would have had some chance, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, now he's got a Rancor, the Palace. He's got 4 recruits, we'll call them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You know what else he needs?
What else does he need?
Better fight choreography.
Yes,
that was my other issue with this episode, because you know it's like I thought that the train heist was handled pretty well in the previous episode. The business with everyone fighting Chrysanthemum as he busts in on Fett when he's in the back of tank, that just kind of felt like really ropey, and also kind of reeked of like, you're like, oh, the ninjas are gonna fight the hero one-on-one instead of like, you know, everyone just jumping in. It's like just kind of felt like you know, this doesn't, not really feeling any like excitement or danger here. And then there's also I think like the same kind of thing felt the same kind of way towards like the speeder bike like chase at the end.
I think that was the weakest part of the episode, honestly. You know, it was like even down to the whole like Biff running into the cow manure thing, you know. Like, to me, I was like, oh, okay, this just feels like at the end, this feels just like Back to the Future. So I was like, yeah, okay. I was like, okay, definitely the weakest part of the episode. You know, and I'm not a fan of those bikes at all. I'm just like, huh?
I said those bikes feel out of place, and I feel like those characters, like I mentioned earlier, like, I don't know, to me they don't like feel like Star Wars. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know if it's like the colors or, you know, their clothing, their look, like they just kind of don't fit in the Star Wars universe to me. And like you said, yeah, those bikes seem like straight out of 1955. Like Biff would have had those bikes.
Yeah, and it just kind of so for me kind of fell flat. So on that. And I understand what you're talking about there, Jason, as well. You know, I think that it could have been better. I mean, there have been some complaints that like, yeah, well, Chrysanthemum like really could have just killed all these people, like, like, it just,
It
and
wasn't
then
just standing around, just punching them as they jumped in.
yeah. So, I'm willing to let it slide though. I'm okay. It's like, okay, well, all right. So, but yeah, I agreed. So episode 3, I just felt it was the weakest to that point, and
So
that's
far,
kind of,
yeah.
yeah. Episode 4 is definitely more of a redemption thing for me, as like in terms of story and stuff. So, this is where we get, we start to see our first crossover with, Fennec Shand, right? So we see, was it in this episode where Boba Fett sees, or is it in the last episode in his
No,
flashback?
that's where he meets her, and you see how he first met her in episode 4. Basically,
Right.
Yeah.
we find out that yes, it was him in that episode. I think it was like what is it, episode 5 of the Mandalorian first season, where we got that post credit scene of someone coming up to Fennec in
Yep.
the desert.
Mhm.
So we found out that hey, yeah, it was Fett after all,
Yeah.
and it started a beautiful partnership, really.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. And he goes to save. He goes and replaces her innards from the modder shop. Someone told me that guy is actually from the guy who takes his credits is actually he's from Suicidal Tendencies.
Oh, okay.
Huh.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, cool. I like Suicidal Tendencies. Still do. So cool. That's cool. They're always trying to get like those little cameos in there. So, but yeah. So he winds up saving her life, and I think there's a good section of the story that focuses on Boba getting his ship back. He's determined to do something. Because there was a point where he's basically a part of the tribe. The tribe gets killed, and now he's like, you know what? I need to take matters into my own hands. I don't know that he was 100% sold on doing that before his tribe, the Tusken tribe was killed, but he definitely was afterwards.
Indeed, yeah. It's like that was basically an inciting incident. Basically, getting to realize that hey, you know what? I need to start doing things for myself now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. So
And
he
first order of business, get my ship back.
Exactly. So yeah, it's cool. He has to let his bantha go. See you, girl. See you, girl. I gotta go get my old girl back. So, the raid on Jabba's palace or X palace, whatever. I liked it. That was fine. It worked for me.
Yeah. It's like it was fun seeing him like chase that droid around the kitchen. It's like very very silly.
Oh
like,
man, that droid was adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So especially the point where Fett starts grabbing him by the throat and says, "You know who I am," and like droid just like flicks his off switch because he doesn't want to deal with this.
All this whole time's like, I parked my vehicle here. I need to get it back. So so that's so yeah. It was necessary storytelling, and that's fine. I like that. To me, I had no problems with that story. Nice. One of the sail barge skiffs was knocked over. Yeah, there's a nice little Easter egg for y'all. While he's rotating the thing out, and then crashing and getting the ship back. So kind of that's anything else to focus on in this episode that I might be missing.
And I blew up the Sarlacc.
Oh yeah, forgot about that part. I need to go get Mama, and then where's he going? He's going to the Sarlacc because that's where he believes it. That's where he believes it is.
If only he knew he got robbed by some filthy Jawas.
So is this the Sarlacc that the Krayt Dragon ate?
I would think not. Because I guess that it's like this happened like a little while before that.
Yeah, and that's part of my problem is like trying to place certain pieces of these, of the timeline here. It's like, okay, so because the Krayt Dragon lived in, was living in where a Sarlacc once lived, and was this the same Sarlacc? I couldn't tell you.
But what I appreciated most about this episode is just seeing like the bond develop between Fennec and Boba Fett too, because obviously like she knew who he was because she was like, "Nah, Boba Fett is dead," and he's like, "Nah, I'm not right here. I'm just missing my armor." But she owed him a debt for saving his life, so she agreed to help him recover his ship. And after they completed that mission, he tells her like, well, before he blows up the biker gang that destroyed his Tusken Raider clan, he tells her like, hey, where do you want me to drop you off at? What port? And she's like, you know what? I'll stick around for the ride. And I kind of like that she, kind of befriended him through that adventure and kind of saw like, man, this is the real deal Boba Fett, someone I can respect. He's like a legendary bounty hunter. I want to stick around and see what kind of adventures we can get into. And it really shows like even to this time in real time why she has this loyalty towards him.
Yep.
Now, interestingly enough, when he flies the Slave One ship into the mouth of the
but it's not called the Slave One anymore.
Yeah, they changed.
Yeah, what are they calling it?
They're just calling it's Make the fire spray.
Yeah. Okay. So, when they fly it down there, and and then one of the tendrils grabs onto it. I mean, it's just kind of a I thought that I originally thought that possibly that this thing was damaged. Evidently, it was alive and kicking.
Mm-hmm.
But I also, outside of the fact that the audience has foreknowledge that the armor isn't there, that this was really not a good move. But we knew they were going to survive. We knew they were going to survive because one of the tendrils like grabs like one part of the cowling and almost rips it apart.
Kind of figured that was going to happen because otherwise what was the whole point of why were they doing this whole scene in the first place? I mean, like there had to be like suddenly tentacle attack out of nowhere. Or else, what was the point?
Nice seeing the sonic charge though being dropped, falling down, and then this thing literally killing it, so it is now dead.
Yeah, I love that sound.
Yeah, just like Jango Fett. It was in the second prequel movie.
Yeah,
Clones,
episode
right?
2. Yeah,
Episode
where there's that kind of delayed like boom.
Yes, which I'm gonna just forget about the science because like sound's not supposed to travel in space because it's so much more fun just to think of it as it actually does.
Yeah.
So that's too much introspection. But I point it out just because So, So he has his. So at the end of episode 4, we see a disgruntled Chrysanthemum sitting in the bar.
Oh yeah.
And here comes your scene, right? And what is he doing? He's drinking and fuming. Why is he fuming?
Because Fett got the better of him and then showed him mercy. It wasn't just that he beat him. He said like, yeah, you're free now. It's like, oh man, it's like he was nice to me. That just makes me even more angry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I guess he realizes, like there's that, like with that, if Fett's willing to hire him now, then hey, maybe it's another job hurting people. That's something I can get behind, at least until I can find something better. So basically, he's on Fett's side, and probably going to see him rip even more arms off in the next couple episodes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Isn't there a history between, like what are they called? The alien, the race that he's, the Wookiees versus, I mean, like he's staring at these guys across the bar.
The Trandoshans.
Yes, the Trando. Yes, there is a history there, right? I mean, it's not just like, it's like not only is he thinking that, he's looking at them like with bloodlust in his eyes. Like, I'm just gonna.
The Trandoshans have a thing for Wookiee pelts, and in fact, remember, like one of the tributes, one of them brought to Fett back in episode 2 was a Wookiee pelt.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess that there probably was like more to it than just him just being angry at drowning his sorrows at what Fett did to him. Like I'm just gonna take out vent his frustrations on the aliens he hates most in the universe.
He probably hadn't ripped any arms from any sockets of late. He just felt like that was the appropriate time to do it. He's like, Wookiees are known for ripping arms out of people's sockets, and he's like, yeah, I just won. So yeah. So yeah, but then Boba Fett recruits him. Great. Did they have a history before?
It's like back in in the first issue of Marvel's latest Star Wars comic, the very first one. Wait, was that? Oh no, this was the Darth Vader comic. Sorry, I got confused for a second.
Okay.
Basically, Vader hired Fett and Chrysanthemum to do some jobs for him. So that was
okay.
they basically met there, but they hadn't actually. It's like basically he hired Fett to go and try and kidnap Luke, and Chrysanthemum to go hire this guy that kidnap this guy that the Emperor was basically hired. The Emperor had hired in order to find a replacement for Vader. So,
was this in the first volume of Darth Vader?
Yeah, one by Kieron Gillen and Salvador Larroca. Which, to give a plug, if you're only going to buy one Marvel comic series, Star Wars Marvel comic series, buy that one. It's a story of basically how Vader got himself back into the Emperor's good graces after the Death Star got destroyed on his watch.
Yeah. So an interesting thing. It's like, after telling Chrysanthemum that, it's like, hey, take it from the next bounty hunter. It's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's already, by the way, and that was in the previous episode, if I'm not mistaken, and this is a change of character for him. We know that Boba's going down a slightly different route. He still wants to do things differently, but he's kind of like, yeah, I'm not doing this bounty hunting thing anymore. The end of it, what's that?
Well, yeah, he explained that. He was like, I'm tired of working for stupid people. He even explained like, as a bounty hunter, they're hired by, people of power, people of ego, and they do it for the money. But he's like, I could do things better and do things different. And I like when he made that, when he explained that to Fennec, and like, oh, okay, like I really want to see how your empire ends up becoming and how you'll be different from everybody else.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He winds up, but for sure, he knows that thanks to his young recruits, that the Pike Syndicate is his enemy.
Mm-hmm.
There's, and by the way, this is what the twins have also told him. It's like, hey, you know what? War's bad for business. Someone else has already claimed this. We don't even care. Like, I believe them when they say that. We don't care. To a degree, it's probably because we don't want to do it. We'd rather just come in afterwards and clean up the mess at the very least. But that's how I see that. And so, I'm not sure if you guys saw it that way, but yeah. But now, at the near the end of this episode, he's pulling together all of these, the rest of he's like, hey, I need essentially a non-aggression pact. You guys just have to, you can help. I think does he ask him like, don't help me, you can either help me or just stay out of it. I'll be nice to you guys. It's fine.
Basically, I think initially, he brought the leaders together around the table, to try to, unite at first, but then like they didn't want to get involved, and he's like, well, at least I ask that you stay neutral. Basically, like don't take any sides or betray me and side with the Pikes. I ask that you remain neutral, and they all seem to have agreed to this.
Yeah, it feels like it'll stick. I mean, because they know about the Pikes, and it's probably in their best interests to, be friendly with Boba's side.
Yeah, but it's like there's 2 episodes left. So there's plenty of room for some kind of like dramatic betrayal because someone's got to figure, yeah, you know what? Maybe my odds are better with the Pikes after all. And like especially if I stick the knife in, it's like in Fett's back after I've just agreed to this pact. I mean, they'll obviously be wiped off the face of Tatooine, and by the end of this first season, so that.
Yeah, and I get very much, the whole Godfather vibe out of this. I mean, I mean,
you know what? Corleone was missing from his council.
What's that?
Rancor underneath the dining room.
Ah, yes. You know what? What better way to illustrate your point than to put your dining room table on top of the Rancor cage? Already proving his loyalty to his master. He's like, here's a bone. There, boy. They've already done the Bond thing, because I think it was like something that was told him by the keeper or the trainer. He's like, the first human he sets eyes on, will bond to him or something like that. That's why they kept the blinders on, which kind of confused me a little bit, because I mean, wasn't the trainer kind of that way? Or anyway, regardless, yeah, kind of cool, because it really does drive your point home, right? That's some serious bonding right there, man. Don't insult me. You'll offend my Rancor. So that episode ends. We need muscle.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's like Fennec and Fett. They both know a guy who's willing to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and if you didn't get the musical cues, you certainly will get it in the next episode.
Yep, because it's like, they bring in a ringer. It's like they bring in none other than Din Djarin, Mandalorian himself.
Mando. I like Mando. Mando's a good name too. So here it is, and everyone, I'm like, hey, it's Mando. And that's what we get. We get an episode of Mandalorian, essentially. But I would have to say a really important episode. There's a lot of things tying things together here in this episode. So
yeah,
starting off
world building.
Oh yeah, and starting off with the whole he's collecting bounties again. I can bring you in warm, but I can bring you in cold.
It's just how he rolls.
Yeah, exactly. So good stuff, though. Good stuff.
Yeah, and we also see that apparently, the Darksaber, maybe not the great for a leadership symbol. Maybe not actually the greatest hand-to-hand weapon out there, or at least that's the impression you get. Because after you see him slice part of his thigh off, you kind of think, oh wow, maybe he should have taken some lessons using that first. But then you find out that, there's actually a reason why he may have sliced off, because the Darksaber is apparently kind of special in combat.
It's heavy.
it becomes heavier.
It becomes heavier. And he does hook up, by the way, with the armor in a really nice sequence, where he goes from one area to the other area. By the way, love that whole white ring thing. That I think that's it's got to be at least 3 or 4 references there, right? So, but I love it because he does find what do they call themselves? I forget, a guild or something. I forget. Anyway, he hooks back up. Up. We're talking about Mando at this point, not Boba Fett, people. This is an episode of Boba Fett, but it is about Mandalorian. So yeah, it might as well be the next episode of the Mandalorian. So, yeah, and the armor, they get the whole story, and then Armor practices with him. And it's like, yeah, she knocks him right off the platform. When practicing with him, and it's like, oh, and there was that other thing about the spear, and I'm glad that they at least covered this. I kind of dug that. The spear is made out of Beskar, and she's like, this thing can pierce Beskar. It's not really a thing that that Mandalorians have, So it's like, then have it remade into armor,
A special gift for Grogu.
For a foundling. For a foundling. And I'm like, yeah. I like that, by the way. I'm totally good with this. It's like, I'd like to see what. Although when you see the little chains dropping, you're like, chainmail? Okay. That's all I was thinking, like chainmail armor. So maybe we'll see that.
Yeah, I was really digging that segment with the armorer where she was really kind of talking about the history of like Mandalore and how Mandalorians the great what was it called, like
the Great Purge, is that what it's called? The Night of 1,000 Tears or something.
The Night of 1,000 Tears. And as she was telling that story, it made me want to sit on the floor with my legs crossed like a child listening to a story in the library. Like, I was like, man, this is like real deep. And how she broke down the lineage of Bo-Katan, and how there was this split between Mandalorians who followed the tradition, and those who kind of like broke off from tradition. And even during that battle in which Mando was challenged over the dark saber, the question came up, have you removed your helmet? And that hesitation from Din, it made me cringe too, like, oh man, like,
fundamentalist Mandalorians for you. No, like no wavering from the way.
Yeah, he's gonna tell the truth, but it's like, oh, dude, what's gonna happen? And she basically just excommunicated him from the Mandalore race.
Well, so, she basically told him that there's only one way to purify yourself, and so the problem is like that was in the what's the well underneath like
mines.
Palace mines.
Yeah, the mines, which are supposedly destroyed, which we don't necessarily truly know, but yeah, I mean, it was just kind of like powerful, where it kind of hits you in the heart, like, oh man, like Mando has been dedicated to his religion like his entire life, and to hear those words, it's kind of like, oh man, like you feel for him. But I really did love this episode, and kind of seeing more of what he's been up to after we last saw him in season 2. And to John's point earlier about the dark saber, about how every time you swing it, it feels like it's getting heavier and heavier. Like that's a
callback to Rebels.
Rebels. Oh yeah.
When Sabine is practicing.
Yep. And that's one of my favorite of the animated series. So, yeah, I do recall her, saying how heavy it was, and it makes me wonder, like, what will is needed in order to wield it properly. Not necessarily like have the will of a Jedi, but at the same time, like, what's holding Din back from being able to control it, as she's, like you said, as she's sparring with him and training him. she was saying like, she was telling him like, you can't use your power, like, you have to, you have to use your mind. So I'd be interested to see moving forward how well he becomes, more, um, more what's the word I'm looking for? I guess more like competent in wielding this weapon.
It also brings up kind of an unwritten point, one where it's it's continue. So at the end of the Mandalorian, like Din does not want it. He offers it back, and she
True.
can't really take it.
True.
He kept it.
Yeah.
We know what the outcome of that is. He kept it, and now it's going to automatically kind of set her up as in conflict with him, essentially.
Yeah, because you bring up a good point right there, because like that whole time they were sparring and they made mention of that. I'm like, well, why was Moff Gideon able to wield it no problem, yet Din is not? And like you said, he wasn't willing to accept it, whereas Moff was like, Gideon was like, he was all about the power, like he felt like he deserved that weapon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so they've set up quite a few things here, and some nice.
And this is just the first half of the episode.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, and then it's like, where did we go?
Well, then Din has to endure the indignities of public transportation.
Oh yeah.
Let me just say that I want to say how glad I was that when he like after he dropped all of his gear off with the droid, who basically says, we can't take those weapons on there. I'm a Mandalorian. This is my religion. Like, we can't let you take those weapons on there.
Mm-hmm.
Points for the attempt, man. But when he does drop all that stuff, including the Darksaber, I was really glad to see that when he got in, when he flew into Tatooine and got all that stuff back, everything was still there, including the Darksaber.
Oh yeah, you and me both. Huh?
Yeah, you just got the feeling that when he was forced to be separated from his gear, especially like something that's very plot centric like the Darksaber, you get the feeling that, oh man, it's like someone's gonna steal it. He's got to go all over Tatooine trying to find it, man. But
or there's
no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, like mix up with your luggage.
Yeah, like sorry, sir, your luggage got shipped to Naboo.
or that Rodian family actually picked it up instead.
Yeah.
And then that kid gets the Darksaber, and now he's gonna lead all the Mandalorians. It's just like a nice cool little thing for him. But that didn't happen. Instead, though, like we find out he's about to get a new ride.
Yeah, I was glad to see. I can't remember the character's name, but she reminds me of Rhea Perlman sometimes. But I was glad to see her character back in it, and still had that like kind of like good customer relationship with Mando, that she was able to scrounge up and find him a new ship to replace the Razor Crest. And
I do want to interrupt you real quick though, Myron, because actress's name is Amy Poehler, and she plays as Peli, but she can't. Yeah, but if you want someone to actually remind you of Rhea Perlman, well, Rhea Perlman actually has a regular role on the Bad Batch.
Oh, okay. I still haven't watched that series yet.
Yeah, it may not surprise you to learn that she's running a bar.
That's appropriate.
Like I've always felt that she should have, but from her her junkyard, like me being a big fan of Jedi Fallen Order, I was so stoked to see like a live action BD unit. Not sure if it's the same droid or not, but I'm starting to feel those warm and fuzzies, like, okay, we're gonna start seeing this model in live action series now.
Nice, really super nice.
But to John's point earlier, it's just like I feel the consumerism welling in within this episode, seeing not only a BD unit, but the new ship that is presented to Mando is none other than a salvaged Naboo starfighter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And at first, it's like, oh wow, that's kind of cool, little throwback. But you know, I think of Mando in that cramped, that cramped cockpit, and it's nowhere near as like cool or as comfortable as the Razor Crest was. But hey, once they finish, getting through it and working on it, let's see what happens. Let's see where it goes. And sure enough, like the finished product is looking very sweet and less cheesy than the yellow Naboo starfighter you're probably used to seeing models of in your local Ralph's back in 1999. Hanging from the ceiling and selling Pepsi products. It's it's a lot cooler. It's a lot cooler ship to where I'm like, okay, where's the Lego set of this now? When's that coming out?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, absolutely. So true, Myron. Yeah, I was like, oh wow, we're doing this. Okay, all right, okay,
Yeah.
let's go.
Mhm.
I'm sure that when we're done with this, it'll look cool, and it actually does. I'll admit, it looks cool.
Could,
Nice
could have
shiny chrome finish.
Yeah, at least it doesn't remind me of young Annie.
Yeah.
Blowing up Trade Federation ships. So,
by accident, yeah.
yeah, by accident. It's like, oops. Nice touch. No,
Mhm.
yeah. The Astro not having an astromech droid. That's yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah, perfect for someone Grogu's size too.
Mhm.
Ah, nice catch. Nice catch.
I thought about that too when like you see that little pod in the back and they were like, well, where's the astromech pod, and she's like, I gotta gut it, and I'm like, why not, like, I don't know, outfit it with something else? Now it just seems like, it seems out of place, it seems empty. But to your point, yeah, that's a nice little cockpit for Grogu to sit in where he doesn't have to mess and fiddle with the controls and the ball shifter.
And
Yeah,
if he's gonna puke, he's not gonna puke on Mando.
Yeah.
Just think of the tactical advantage too. You can just take out his Jedi weapon, like use the Force.
Exactly. but I think it's cool some of the points that they brought up about like these pre pre-republic or pre-imperial ships that don't have trackers and can jump into hyperspace without a ring. I thought that was cool because I never really thought about it or realized just how cool or dope like the Naboo starfighter could be. And so just kind of seeing him going on that test flight, because he's always been used to like bigger ships, bigger battle cruisers, and just seeing him taking that Naboo starfighter on a test run through Beggars Canyon, like back
That's
home.
right.
I was like,
exactly.
Yeah, I think I saw a Womp Rat there too.
yeah,
you did. And it's
You
the
did.
same route that they took for the pod race, actually, the Boon to Eat
Yep.
pod race. So yeah,
Mhm.
a lot of callbacks, So
But also,
def-
as we find out,
definitely.
the Republic frowns on stuff like that, not having any trackers.
yep.
And that made me and that put a frown on my face too, like that whole scene. I'm like, dude, like I know the galaxy is at a little bit more peace since the Empire fell, but is this really what Republic or Rebel X-wing fighters are doing now, just being space cops? Like these guys are flying around like chips, Eric Estrada and all, like issuing tickets and trying to, uphold the law. It was just a little cheesy to me. Like, man, do you guys have like nothing else better to do but then just
Yeah.
issue tickets?
I think that was kind of the point. Like, you're right, that they were basically interstellar chips.
Yeah,
It's basically like the Star Wars equivalent of like of the cops pulling over for a busted taillight, and then
Yeah.
realizing playing guy, hey, got any? It's like your registration's out of date. You know that?
Mhm.
It's basically like the Star Wars version of that kind of thing. It was cute, especially the bit where he just like punches it and just like flies off, and they realize, hey, you know what? do you actually want to report this? I mean, all the paperwork had to file out. Nope.
And without being able to see Din's face, dude, you just kind of like the way he responds. You can tell like he's just rolling his eyes and giving that sigh, like, "Sorry, officer. Like, I just finished this ship and was just taken out for a test run. Like, sorry, officer. My chip's not installed yet. Just like just like if you really got pulled over by the police for like a speeding ticket or something. Like, sorry, officer. I didn't realize how fast I was going." Sorry, officer. Yeah, saying your yes sirs and no sirs. That kind of had me chuckle a little bit. Like, you know, Din having the right answers to try to get out of this, and when they kept pressing it, it's like, oh, I could just hit that. That hyperspeed. Without it. At the drop of a dime.
Yeah, it was just a bad luck for him that one of the pilots was one of the same ones who we encountered
It's season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before he crashed on that ice planet.
Yep. Because he was like, yeah, you have that. Your voice sounds familiar.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the same guy. And actually, I think that guy he has a YouTube channel or a podcast or something like that. So the other factoid is that the other pilot of the other X-Wing, again, not my credit. I found this out, but just found this out. He's the stunt double for Luke. And the last episode, basically there had to be a body double.
So he was like Mark Hamill's physical double for that episode.
Yes, for the last episode of Mandalorian. Yes,
that's
correct.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, so they're really tying in they're tying everything in they can. So I think that's really kind of cool. So
yeah,
cool stuff. Cool little piece of trivia there. So, but nice stuff.
Now the only negative thing that I have to say about this episode is that it kind of like killed my momentum for Boba Fett to where it's like, dude, now I just want Mando season 3 like now.
Might be the point.
Yeah.
Just saying. Might be the point.
Yeah, like I mean, like don't get me wrong, like I've been enjoying Boba Fett, and this has been so far, even though it's like kind of like a little bit of a slow build, slow burn, I've enjoyed the backstory and seeing how Boba Fett survived, setting up his gangster empire and whatnot. But this episode just like brought back those season 2 vibes. Like, all right, man, when you gonna give that gift to Grogu, dude? Like, I hope that's in episode 6. And it's like, no. We got it. This is the book of Boba Fett. We got to get back on track. But I'm starting to like this. Obviously, I think a lot of us had this feeling like this is going to happen. I like this. I like this tie-in in these crossovers. And so after this season, I do hope that there's more seasons of the book of Boba Fett, on the, no pun intended, on the books to be produced. But I would hope to see, like with season 3 of Mando, Boba Fett crossover and progress that story and contribute. And then if we get a book of Boba Fett, season 2, Mando and possibly Grogu crossover, and we kind of get like a double series of Mandalorian based stories. So I like what the Star Wars universe is doing within the television, within the small screen, I should say.
Yeah, I've been enjoying the show too, but I just think it's just a little bit disappointing by the fact that that Boba Fett has basically been upstaged by his own guest star with this episode. I mean, this has been this episode like delivered kind of a lot of fun stuff with it. I'm just kind of disappointed, like you can't really like say the same of like every episode we've seen in the series up to this point.
Is Tamora Morrison like that expensive to where they have to leave him out of his own episode of his own TV series?
Yeah,
I'm just saying, man.
It's funny that you say that, Jason, and what you just said, John. It's like everyone's favorite Mandalorian got upstaged by a new favorite Mandalorian. For the longest time, like Boba Fett is, all we had, and he's always been a fan favorite character. And throughout the years and throughout many different mediums and stories, like we got a flesh out of like the Mandalorian culture, but still like Boba Fett was like the guy. And then ever since the Mandalorian came out, like everybody, I feel like myself included, like uh Din is like that epitome of what a Mandalorian should be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
I think I have more Din figures than I do Boba Fett now.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it's. I'll admit it's. Let's put it frankly. Probably before this series, um, Din is a more well built character in a lot of ways. Like they built a
True.
lot more into him, and you're like, oh, cool, and and so Boba does have to kind of play catch up in the character front, but he's working on
I
it.
mean,
That's all I'd have
I
to
mean,
say.
I agree with you there. I think Jason might have more, history and lore within Boba Fett from like the expanded universe and side stories. But if you look from like just a standard viewer's point of view, the only exposure you had were like Empire, Return of the Jedi, and that's pretty much it from a movie point of view. And then there's also been like video games and such if you're into those other mediums. But yeah, from Mandalorian from the jump, we got a lot more character development with Din than we have with Boba Fett like ever. And so I think a lot more people who are new to the Star Wars franchise, or even like casual Star Wars fans, they know of Boba Fett, but they probably favor and side more with Din than they do with Boba Fett, and that's probably from the help of Grogu as well.
Yep.
Yeah, but I think you guys are right about just like they've done a great job building. It's like building up Din's character. It's like just it was cool seeing like just another Mandalorian out there, but they made him into like like interesting, even like conflicted character points. I mean, it's like just you get emotional about him taking off his helmet. It's like
Right.
that it's a simple
Ah.
gesture, but they've actually managed to make that into like something really significant for the show. It's like,
Yeah.
and you also and he's got an interesting arc as well. Because I mean, it's clear that he's still like wants to be part of Grogu's life. Now he's also got these obligations to him to the Mandalorian as well. And like I'm still betting that we'll see him like try to get to the those like pools underneath the cave, underneath the mines. It's like
Hmm.
on Mandalore. Though it's like I'm so more curious about like how this Mandalorian like what's going to be the effort to take back Mandalore, because clearly it's like these two sides are going to have to work together, but obviously these two sides don't like each other very much. Oh, but hey, who's worked with both of them and is still allowed to tell the tale? Our guy Mando.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think that'd be an interesting point for place to start for season 3. I think there was some of us expressed some trepidation over like a season 3 that was all about them fighting, taking back Mandalore or something. But I don't know. It's like I'm more on board with that now. It's like after this episode, and hey, maybe he'll even bring Grogu along so he can experience his very first war.
Yeah, and I could see that and agree with you on that too, because I mean, so far, I mean, within this series, we've been introduced to like Bo-Katan and her crew, and like, um, sometimes I question like Moff Gideon's lineage or ties to the Mandalore race as well, and maybe we'll get some more flesh out there. But I think the battle for Mandalore for season 3 would be an awesome storyline to cover.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, I like the direction of the story overall. And yeah, I'll have to say, definitely the Mandalorian arc itself, slow buildup of character, but we do see it. I think it's still pretty amazing. And that he's faithful to the creed, even though he wasn't faithful to the creed. He's going to be honest about it. He's not just going to lie about it, because that would really kind of betray his own thing. And I think we're going to see him attempt to redeem himself by doing exactly what the armorer asked or told him he had to do. Yeah, I can totally see that. And I think that's going to be an interesting point.
But in the near future, I'm sure these final 2 episodes of Book of Fett, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I feel it's gonna like really ramp up now. I mean, even though this was more of a Mando episode, the whole time I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, where is this going to be a complete Mando episode, or when's Boba Fett fitting in? Where's the connection and the tie-in going to be? And of course, Fennec came in, at the end of the episode to, recruit him, and I just love that, respect, that mutual respect, where she gave him, the credits, like, hey, I got a job for you, we're gonna pay you well, and he was like, nah, tell Boba Fett this is on the house. And I just kind of love that, respect that he's shown, because obviously Boba Fett helped him out a lot in season 2. So I'm excited to see what episodes 6 and 7 will bring us.
It's gonna be good. Although I will say, I was like, okay, so Fennec Shem gets 2 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
and then I'm like, I'm here I am on my Roku. I hit the up arrow to see the time bar. I'm like, 5 minutes. All right, the rest of that'll be credits. And I was like, well, I can't say I didn't enjoy the episode. I did, but it was certainly not like it certainly did feel a little bit like, in my head, I think it played out more like Fennec would be, coming in to like the fight in the beginning, when he's, and like, hey, helping him, finish off his attackers, and then, hey, we got a job for you. And that's how I kind of envisioned it in my head, or something like that. And nope, that's not how it executed at all, man. So it was like, oh, we get a full-on episode. Okay, yep. I'm on board. Cool. So not disappointed, just like
surprised.
Yeah, it was
pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. So I guess Disney knows where they know where to put the chips, huh? So final thoughts on this. I guess we still got a couple more episodes to go, so that'll be good. Looking forward to those. It's only going to be the next couple of weeks, so we'll be right into February. So around February 14th will be Valentine's Day. So whatever that means. So all right, guys. Anything else on this one? We'll be about done with that.
No, I think we nerdgasmed quite a bit on these past four episodes, but I mean it's good. It's a good ride. Good ride.
Yeah, I agree completely, and I'm looking forward to seeing more. It's a different direction, but I'm good with it all. I have no problems with it. It's very cool.
Indeed, looking forward to the end.
Alrighty then. We'll talk to y'all later.
Good night, kitties.
Not